You know what? I almost didn't make this video for reasons that I'll explain in a bit, but I'm glad I did, as I'm actually quite proud of this one. So this project is called Fluent Convex. It's a library I put together to explore what an alternative Convex API might look like. Basically, it lets you turn your normal Convex functions that you're used to writing from something that looks like this to something that looks more like this. So instead of a single function that you pass an object to define your function, you now build up a fluent chain of operations before finalizing your function and exporting it for use in clients. So it's got numerous benefits over the standard way of writing Convex functions, such as the ability to add middleware for auth, logging, etc. And it also has the ability to invoke the functions directly without incurring a function call overhead against your Convex function call count budget. It's got a bunch of other features and functionality that make it a joy to work with, in my opinion, and I'm excited to go through it all with you in this video. I do, however, have some hesitations and a little bit of melancholy in there, but I'll save that discussion for the end. Just for now, grab yourself a lovely cup of tea and let's get into it. All right, so this is Fluent Convex. It's a Fluent API builder for Convex functions with middleware support inspired by ORPC. ORPC, if you're not familiar, is a library much like TRPC. It's just a newer one. It's got support for middleware and other bits and pieces. Basically, it just makes your client to server communications, your remote procedure calls type safe, and etc. Anyway, so the README for Fluent Convex, we're not going to go through the README because I actually put together sort of a docs and showcase as well here. But one just like quick side tangent, I just wonder whether these days, whether a README you kind of treat as like your LLMs.txt, because is it more designed for agents these days? Anyway, something to think about. But anyway, I did put together these docs. So to get started, you just do the usual thing, npm install Fluent Convex. Right now, this is not an official Convex package. This is just me, Mike Can, putting this together. If there gets to be a lot of community interest, maybe we'll turn it into a proper Convex package, but we'll see. If you want to add Zod, which we'll get to in a minute, you also would need to add these two as well. Basically, everything, as it says here, starts with a single builder instance. So you just create this, using this create builder function, you pass in the data model, your Convex data model, and you now get like this typed builder. And down here, we start to have some little examples and snippets. Now, I'll just like to say, if you do end up wanting to check this out yourself, each of these snippets has got a little GitHub link here, which takes you to the region in the code. So what this actual showcase and docs is actually live code. This is like, it's a live application that is also self-documenting, which I thought was kind of neat. And so you can actually see, we actually have Convex functions here you can call, and this is actually calling functions inside the documentation Convex project, which is kind of neat. But anyway, let's have a look at the basics, a simple query. Okay, so this is an empty Convex project that I just created with bun or npm create convex, and then it's just a Vite, the basic Vite template. So by default, you end up with these, a query, a mutation, and an action. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and implement Fluent Convex in here. So I've already installed it, and I've got my Convex dev process running. So the first thing we need to do, as you saw from the documentation, is we need to create a builder. So I'm just going to create it in here. You might want to put this in a common file like fluents.ts or lib.ts or something, but I'm just going to pop it in here for now. And what this is going to do is going to create a type-safe builder based upon our data model from our schema. So we want to export const. We're going to create a new list numbers 2, let's say, is equal to our convex object dot. Now, the first thing is we see we can either create a query, a mutation, action. We want to create a query, and then we're going to say the input is going to be this object here. So there's 3 different ways you can do input, as we'll have a look in the documentation in a minute. But for now, we're just going to do it like this. And then we can say the handler is going to be this guy here. And we can say, if we want, we're going to have like a return object. Oops, go up here. We can say we want the return to look like something, I don't know, something else. I'm just going to leave the return off for now because I don't want to have to try and type this stuff. Okay, and now this function is not actually usable yet. So the final thing you need to do is you need to finalize it with a dot either internal to make it an internal function or dot public to make it a public function. And that's it, basically. It kind of looks very similar, doesn't it? But it does have some added benefits. So let's just hop back to the docs now and have a look what the added benefits, the reasons why you might want to do this. So firstly, validation. So as I mentioned, you can just do this dot input to add the validation, and you can just do the exact same thing as you're used to from writing Convex functions. You can pass an object in here. And the same with Convex, you can actually just pass a v.object as well, so the validator object. And the same goes for the returns as well. But the final nice thing you can do is you can actually use Zod with this. So the system has a plugins based system, and the first and only plugin right now is this Zod one. So if you do Convex query extend with Zod, which is from the with Zod plugin, which we'll have a look at down there in a minute, you can then do, instead of just passing a Convex object or just an object, you can now pass a Z object as well, a Zod object. And the really nice thing about this is these validators, these runtime validators, they're ensuring that it's going to be a minimum size and maximum size are also validated at runtime. So this plugin is also going to wrap your handler and perform these runtime validation checks for you as well, as also having the Convex level validators also applied. So that's quite nice. Another thing that I really wanted to be able to have, and actually this is one of the big motivations for me doing this in the first place, is I want to be able to build reusable chains of things so I can then use them in other contexts without having to redefine everything. It'll make more sense in a second. Okay, now so let's hop back to the code again in a sec. So let's just say that this, our list numbers 2 here, we want it to be, rather than exporting it, we want it just to be like a generic helper that we can use in another function, for example. So let's say instead of this actually doing the implementation ourselves, we want to actually call our little helper function. So you would have to do, previously you would have to do this, you have to say await context dot run query, and then you have to do API dot myfunctions dot, oh, and I've stopped exporting this. You have to make it exportable, list numbers 2, and then pass your argument to it, whatever that is. Or you would have to take the body of this logic here and put it into a helper function like this. And yeah, there we go. And there we go. So now we have our list numbers helper, and then you would have to call it down here like this. God, it's been a while since I've typed. I don't know about you guys. Feels weird. Args.count. There we go. And then you have to do your helper like this. Now, I just always felt like having to retype the types again up and down here just felt messy. I don't like it. So even though it is very useful to be able to obviously have helper functions around the place so we don't duplicate ourselves, what I really wanted to do is be able to do something like this, where we can get rid of this like this, get rid of the function from there, and now we can just say, okay, we get rid of these guys from here, get rid of from that, and we'll just return the numbers from here, in here, and then we'll say list numbers 2, passing the context object, and then the args that expects count 1, 2, 3 or whatever, and that's it. It now just calls it. Whoops, there's an error here, the comma on the end. And there we go, you literally just call it like that. Now, then suppose we wanted to also export this one. Well, you can because of its chain. So now I can just say export. I want to then say export const list numbers 2 public is equal to, and you just say list numbers 2 dot public. You finalize it. And we could say, we could make another one if we wanted to, list numbers 3, and you could say, you could even say, export const list numbers. Maybe say you wanted to have an internal version, you could just do list numbers 2 internal equals list numbers 2 internal. Oops. .internal, and now it appears on the internal API instead of the public one. And obviously you can do other things like as well, because it's Fluent, because you can always, it always returns another object. You can always just keep on extending it. So for example, say this was common reuse stuff. We could just say, okay, query that takes a count is equal to this. And then we can just reuse this. Whoops, reuse this part here. And now we've got a lot neater looking API service. Yeah, so back to the docs, that's basically what it explains here. So you can create reusable functions, and then you can register them via the .public or .internal at the end. And then you can go ahead and call those functions from within other function handlers. And it means that you don't incur another Convex function overhead call. And it also means you get like this nice reusable set of library functions. So we're almost on to middleware now, but it also means that we can register the same thing multiple ways. So we can use the middleware to say that list numbers logged. So we can now have we can add the middleware after the fact, and this still gets called before the handler gets called, if you see what I mean. And the same with, so you can have like this get numbers function here that doesn't have any sort of auth around it, and neither does this, but then we can say, okay, we want to make sure that that list numbers call when it's public only is ever auth, it was protected. So then you can add the middleware after the fact and then make it public, which is, in my opinion, quite nice. You get the best of both worlds. And then of course, obviously you can stack these middleware. So over and over. Actually, let's talk about middleware. Let's hop into the middleware section. So you can define middleware very easily. This is very much inspired by the ORPC way of doing it. So you just, again, starting with a Convex builder, and then you can just do create middleware. Now, this context section here is because in Convex, obviously you have queries, mutations, and actions. If you want to define a middleware that can be used across all three, you have to tell it, you have to unify that type that you're going to need internally. So that's what this $sign context does. It means that we're going to expect there to be in our context an auth object of the auth shape. And here's an example of an easier middleware is adding a timestamp, for example. And it works kind of very similar to like Node.js with this onion wrapping style. And here's another one. If you wanted to create a parameterized middleware, you can. So again, you could say like have this with logging and the operation name, and then it returns the create middleware part here. And then you can see it's going to basically just profile. It's going to wrap the next invocation, the handler invocation like this. And then when you use it, again, it's pretty easy. You just say use the middleware, and this use, as I showed before, can be done both before the handler and also after the handler. And because of that reusable chains nature, it's quite common, I find, in my projects to do this, where I have like an auth query, I have an auth mutation, auth action, and then you just use it like this. So then you have a single place that's defined, and you could even have linting rules saying like everything within this file must use this auth query, for example. So the final thing to show you is that it has a plugins architecture. So what's the difference between middleware and plugins? Plugins are basically more powerful. They allow you to alter the API itself. So the dot input, the dot returns, the dot handler, it allows you to completely change all of that if you like with this dot extends. So for example, say we have like this new plugin, this timed builder plugin, this timed plugger. So you can say Convex query extend with the timed builder, and now there's a new function on there that doesn't exist before. So you can add that on there. And that's exactly what the Zod plugin does, is it extends with this Zod API, and basically it just replaces the input function and the returns function. So you can use Zod instead, optionally, which I think is quite a nice, neat API way of doing this. And yeah, that's about it for now. I mean, obviously I would like to add more plugins, but I'm just going to keep this simple and get this video out. There's so many other things to work on, but if you like this and you think that there's other plugins that could be added, then feel free to open a issue on GitHub or leave me a comment down below or something and we'll have a chat. By the way, all these docs that I've been showing you are actually directly hosted on Convex itself. So there's no Netlify, Vercel or anything like that involved. The files are just, the JavaScript and HTML are just stored directly in Convex storage and then served via HTTP actions. And this is all possible thanks to this experimental component from Convex engineer Seth. Is it the most efficient way of doing things? No. Does it have a CDN? No. Would I run a proper production site on it that expects high volume of traffic? Probably not. But it is super nice to be able to quickly get going, get something up and running without having to mess around with some third party's dashboard login and etc. Anyways, if you're interested in doing some sort of quick hosting on Convex, then you should definitely check it out. And I will probably have to do a full video on it once it's a little bit further along. Okay, so I promised you at the start of this video some of the reasoning why I almost didn't make this video and why even now I have hesitations that my efforts here will likely be wasted. But anyway, here we go. So I'm not sure if you noticed, but the software development profession has undergone just a little bit of change in the past month or so. It turns out that AI has gotten really, really good. I mean, good to the point where a lot of us are just letting the models write 90, 100% of all the code that they produce. And as I discussed in a prior video, this has serious consequences to me and my role at Convex as an educator. So the importance of nice, neat APIs, such as the one that I've built in Fluent Convex, I think is just greatly diminished, unfortunately, when code is no longer written by humans. Sure, there are arguments to be made that it's still important for code to be readable, and then arguments that maybe the AI also benefits from clean APIs. But I honestly think that the days of, slowly crafting perfect looking, clean user-facing APIs is just rapidly drawing to a close, and that makes me a little bit sad. So why did I decide to make this anyway? Well, I did actually start this Fluent Convex project back late last year before a lot of this vibe coding shenanigans went underway, but I didn't finish it for one reason or other, and I just hate unfinished projects. I just wanted to close it out. I also saw how popular the Better Convex stack drop was, and I think one of the big reasons that was so popular is because of its Fluent styled API for writing Convex functions. So I thought it might be important to get out this library that doesn't have as many extra additions as that Better Convex library does. And finally, I think the final reason is just I find it fun to play around with theory crafting APIs, even if I think this particular pastime is rapidly becoming consigned to the realm of hobby, much like horse riding in the age of the car or painting in the age of the printer. But anyways, I do hope you enjoyed my effort here. And if you'd like to chat more about this, then do drop me a comment down below. I like to read every single one and I try and reply to most. But for now, until next time, thanks for watching. Cheerio.